The year is 1348. The Black Death, a plague of unimaginable proportions, is sweeping across Europe. But amidst the chaos, a more personal mystery unravels in the Kingdom of England. In the heart of this kingdom resided a knight of considerable stature, Sir Thomas. A man of wealth and influence, Sir Thomas was as renowned for his courage in battle as he was for his vast fortune. Yet, with power and wealth come enemies, and Sir Thomas had made his fair share. Among the whispers of court intrigue and the cries of the plague-stricken masses, rumours began to swirl of a hidden treasure, a hoard of wealth amassed by Sir Thomas throughout his life. The tales spoke of gold and jewels, of priceless artifacts and ancient relics, all stashed away in some secret location known only to the knight himself. But as the Black Death tightened its grip on the kingdom, Sir Thomas vanished. One day he was a prominent figure in the royal court, the next he was gone, as though he'd been swallowed by the fog that rolled in from the Thames. Search parties were dispatched, his manor searched, his acquaintances interrogated, yet not a trace of the knight could be found. His disappearance was as sudden as it was baffling, leaving behind only an echo of his name and the tantalizing myth of his hidden treasure. As the days turned into weeks, then months, the mystery of Sir Thomas's disappearance only deepened. Theories abounded, from abduction by his enemies to a secretive escape to a far-off land. Some even whispered that the knight had been taken by the plague itself, his body hidden to protect his family's reputation. Yet no evidence was ever found to support these claims. As the plague took more lives, the story of Sir Thomas faded into obscurity, his fate as unknown as the location of his supposed treasure. The Vanishing Knight became a ghost, a phantom in the annals of history, a tantalizing mystery that remains unsolved to this very day. Fast forward to the year 1485. The Wars of the Roses, a series of bloody civil wars for the throne of England, give rise to a notorious figure, Richard III. The haunting echoes of the past bring us to the reign of King Richard III. His reign, though brief, was marked by a brutal and relentless pursuit of power. But power, as we know, always comes at a price, and in Richard's case that price was paid by those who dared to cross him. Richard's methods of interrogation were renowned for their sheer cruelty. He was not one to shy away from the graphic and the gruesome. One such method that stands out in the annals of history is the use of the scavenger's daughter. A chilling name for a chilling device, the scavenger's daughter was a contraption of torture as ingenious as it was horrifying. It was a compressive device that forced the victim into a squatting position with their ankles, wrists and neck fastened securely. Its design was such that the victim's body would be compressed inwards, causing immense pain and often resulting in internal bleeding. The device was said to be used extensively under Richard's reign. It was not just a tool of physical torment, but also a symbol of his tyranny. It was used to extract confessions, to punish, and most importantly, to instill fear. Imagine the terror that consumed those who were subjected to it, the fear that gripped the hearts of those who merely witnessed its use. That was the power of the scavenger's daughter. It was a horrifying testament to the lengths Richard III would go to maintain his control. And maintain control he did. Through these brutal methods, Richard's reign was marked by an iron grip over his kingdom. His subjects, living in fear of his wrath, were obedient. They knew the price of crossing the king was a fate worse than death. Through these cruel methods, King Richard III maintained his iron grip over the kingdom, instilling fear and obedience in his subjects. We travel south to Italy, 1492. A new Pope, Alexander VI, ascends to the throne, but behind his holy facade a sinister plot is brewing. Let's delve into the shadowy depths of the Borgia, a family infamous for their insatiable thirst for power. Originating from Spain, the Borgias have carved their name into the annals of history with bloodied hands and ruthless ambition. They've climbed to the apex of influence with their patriarch Rodrigo Borgia now donning the sacred mantle of the Pope as Alexander VI. But as it's often the case with power, it's a double-edged sword. The more you have, the more you risk losing. And in the Borgia family, the stakes were incredibly high. Whispers of betrayal and murder echoed through the hallowed halls of the Vatican. striking fear into the hearts of those who dared to cross their path. The focus of our tale falls upon two brothers, Cesare and Giovanni Borgia. The latter, also known as the Duke of Gandia, was a man of valor and virtue, a stark contrast to the rest of his family. Yet his life was tragically cut short in the prime of his youth. The culprit? Many believe it was none other than his own brother, Cesare. Cesare, unlike his brother, was a man who embraced the Borgia legacy of ambition and treachery. He was rumored to have orchestrated his brother's murder out of jealousy, seeing him as a threat to his own rise to power. The Duke's lifeless body was found in the Tiber River, a grim testament to the lengths the Borgias would go to maintain their grip on power. In the end, the Borgias were a family consumed by their own desire for dominance. They reveled in the intoxicating allure of power, even if it meant betraying their own blood. The death of the Duke of Gandia stands as a chilling reminder of their ruthless pursuit of power. The Borgias' lust for power knew no bounds, even if it meant spilling the blood of their own. We remain in Italy, but move forward to 1537. Florence is under the rule of the Medici family, particularly the young and ambitious Duke Cosimo. Greed, power and ambition. These three words sum up the Medici family's reign over Florence. Emerging from the shadows of humble beginnings, the Medicis maneuvered their way to the top, their rise to power fueled by an insatiable greed that knew no bounds. As bankers, the Medicis were ruthless and cunning. They built a financial empire that spanned across Europe, their coffers swelling with the wealth of kings and popes. But their business tactics were far from noble. They exploited the poor, charging exorbitant interest rates and using underhanded methods to seize the assets of those who couldn't pay. Their greed wasn't confined to their business dealings. They craved power and influence, and they would stop at nothing to get it. They bought their way into the papacy, not once but 4 times, turning the highest office of the Catholic Church into a commodity to be traded. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of their rule was the mysterious disappearance of their opponents. Those who dared to challenge the Medici's authority found themselves vanishing without a trace. Their fates were whispered about in hushed tones, tales of secret assassinations and brutal punishments serving as a grim reminder of the Medici's ruthless grip on power. The city of Florence became their personal kingdom, a place where their word was law and their greed dictated the course of life. They lived in opulent palaces, feasting on the finest foods while their subjects starved. They commissioned great works of art, not out of love for beauty, but as a show of their wealth and power. The Medicis were masters of manipulation and deceit, their cunning and greed turning them into one of the most powerful families in Europe. But their reign was not without consequence. Their ruthless tactics and unending greed left a legacy of fear and oppression, their name forever synonymous with betrayal and tyranny. Their unending greed turned Florence into their personal kingdom, their opponents vanishing as quickly as their wealth grew. Our final journey takes us to France, 1589. The wars of religion have split the country, and in the midst of it all, an innocent woman pays the ultimate price. In the heart of this turbulent era, we find Margot de Valois, a woman caught in the merciless gears of political power games. Born into royalty, her life was not her own, but rather a pawn, moved at the whim of those hungry for power and control. Margot was forced into a marriage she didn't want, with a man she didn't love, all in the name of political alliance, all to consolidate power. Yet, even in this loveless marriage, she was the beacon of hope for the people, a symbol of unity amidst a divided nation. But the puppeteers of power saw her not as a beloved queen, but as an obstacle. And so they conspired against her, fabricated charges of treason, and set up a trial that was anything but just. The trial was a sham. The verdict a foregone conclusion. In the eyes of the court, she was guilty, but in the eyes of the public, she was a victim. They watched in helpless despair as their beloved queen was sentenced to death, their voices silenced by the oppressive hand of power. The day of the execution arrived. The once vibrant and lively Margot was now a hollow shell, her spirit crushed under the weight of injustice. Her final moments were not of a traitor but of a martyr, a symbol of the innocent who suffered at the hands of the corrupt. The public watched in stunned silence as the blade fell, marking an end to Margot's life, but not her legacy. Her death sparked outrage, her memory fanned the flames of rebellion. Her death marked a dark chapter in French history, a stark reminder of the price of power and greed. The echoes of Margot's tragic end reverberate through the corridors of time, a haunting reminder of the cost of ambition and the fragility of innocence.